covering the world of professional wrestling. This is the Signature Spot with Chris Toplack.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you very much for tuning in to the latest episode of The Signature Spot with Chris Toplack. As always, I greatly appreciate your ongoing support, and because of that support, the previous episode of the show broke records. Since leaving the world of radio broadcasting over 7 years ago, I have hosted 4 podcasts. I am the most proud of this one, for the record. So the previous episode did over 17,000 views on YouTube, plus hundreds and hundreds of downloads on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Spreaker, podcast apps such as Overcast. So thank you, and also to our great partners, thereactionroom.com and thegorillaposition.com. Would not be possible without them and without you. So let's keep this momentum going. Tell your friends, family, and fellow wrestling fans to tune in on a weekly basis. And if you want to follow me on social media, I'm so easy to find. Like The Signature Spot on Facebook, at Chris Toplack on Twitter. Yes, during live events, I share my thoughts, my opinions, maybe some insight as well too, at Chris Toplack on Instagram. But for the record, not necessarily wrestling related on there. We have a lot to get to on the program today. The shocking announcement from Roman Reigns that has shaken the wrestling world. Highlights from the week, an update on Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia, and a full preview of WWE Evolution with my guest, Kyle Scharf.
Your weekly recap.
NWA 70 took place this past Sunday from Nashville, Tennessee. In fact, the Tennessee State Fairgrounds Arena. That's where TNA had their tapings back when they first started from about 2002 to 2004. Now, unfortunately, the first portion of the event was riddled with issues such as no audio for early video packages and backstage promos, but it was eventually rectified. And it shouldn't take away from the fact that there were some great matches that took place. If you want to read all about them, stop by thegorillaposition.com. So the two standout moments to me, Willie Mack winning the vacant NWA National Heavyweight Championship. If you've not seen the actual belt, I love it because it's a true, authentic throwback. And then Nick Aldis regaining the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in a 2 out of 3 falls match against Cody. It was amazing. It received critical praise. I believe it was well-deserved. If you're going to go back and watch any match, the main event has to be the one. Now, actually, James Ellsworth was even on the card as well, too, and former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tim Storm. So if you want to go back and watch any match, as I noted, the main event, and read more about it on thegorillaposition.com. Moving ahead to Raw. Wow, what a bombshell. Who saw that coming? Roman Reigns opened Raw with one of the saddest and most revealing promos in recent memory, basically stating, I've been living with leukemia for 11 years, and unfortunately, it's back. I'm going to have to relinquish the Universal Championship. That revelation was very shocking and surreal. I can tell you personally, I was legitimately lost for words after hearing the genuine concern in the voices of Michael Cole, Renee Young, and Corey Graves. Roman, or Joe, he referred to himself as that, so I'm okay saying that, is truly a member of their family and, of course, everybody in the back and the entire WWE universe. So let's hope that he defeats leukemia. He had one key line that really stood out to me. I want to show my family, my friends, my children, and my wife that when life throws a curveball at me, I'm the type of man that will stand in the batter's box, I will crowd the plate, I will choke up, and I will swing for the fences every single time. And I can assure Roman, we're all behind you. Now, there were a lot of individuals that released their own tweets and Facebook statuses and Instagram posts, all of these stories that basically were stating how much of a leader Roman Reigns is and how much everybody just admires him. But the one that really stood out to me, that provided me with goosebumps all over, was from Aleister Black. So I'm not going to read the entire post, but more or less, head over to Aleister Black's page. It was true. It was authentic. But more or less, Aleister Black was discussing how during live events, and this was his code of respect and really more than anything, earning his keep, He wanted to make sure the locker rooms were kept clean after the wrestlers were gone and the garbage was taken care of, towels were stacked, and that post-match people had water, especially the upper cards. So he believes that this has long been forgotten and not practiced anymore, but nevertheless, that's what he did. He got to know Roman Reigns, and basically Roman was saying, I don't want you cleaning the locker rooms anymore. I want you to understand that you belong here, and I want you to go kill it every night and be part of the team. That's all I care about. You've been wrestling long enough to understand how this works, so please relax. And he said ever since that point in time, Roman greeted him with a nice big hug and his composed demeanor. How amazing is that? And dozens of these stories came out after Roman made that announcement. So again, hell of a human being. You don't have to love him as a wrestler, but again, we are rooting for him. Moving on, it was a very notable Raw. Following the guitar shot to Baron Corbin, it would appear as though Elias is officially being positioned as a fan favorite. I say, long overdue. Given the emotions and seriousness of Roman's announcement, the Dean Ambrose heel turn legitimately stunned the live audience. It almost felt reminiscent of when The Undertaker lost at WrestleMania. Not quite that dramatic, but look at the reactions. Go back and see the footage or the photos, and they are shocked. They don't even know what to say, what to do. After winning the tag team titles, Ambrose hit Rollins with dirty deeds. Now, at first, he appeared to be conflicted, but then that soon dissipated after he viciously attacked Rollins for several minutes while Ambrose screamed, "You asked for this." Dean Ambrose has immediately established himself as one of the top heels in the company, and if this momentum continues, he will soon be entering Tommaso Ciampa territory, and that is a big compliment. From SmackDown, a few of the standout moments, you had AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan versus the Usos. They ended up losing after yet another miscommunication. How about Shane McMahon? I love the quote, "We will see who is the best in the world." And then the crowd, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. And then he responded with, "I don't believe he's in the tournament." So kudos to him for actually responding to that as opposed to just ignoring it like a fool. The Miz versus Rey Mysterio. Love the chemistry between those two. Hopefully we'll see a feud soon enough. And then from NXT, even though if you tuned in last week, I gave you my live Full Sail experience because I was there for 4 weeks worth of tapings. You had Adam Cole versus EC3 in an impromptu match. Then you had the post-match beatdown with Bobby Fish taking a chair to EC3's leg. Later on, after The Dream and Sullivan made their cases for a title shot against Tommaso Ciampa, you had Aleister Black finally return. He took out all security, and then he grabs William Regal and he demands to know where he is. And right on cue, Johnny Gargano appears and super kicks Black right on the chin. Now, does this mean that he's the mystery attacker? I mean, logically, yes, but who knows for sure until it's formally admitted. Now, again, for the record, on my previous podcast, Ask the Top, I did predict it would be Johnny Gargano. I believe it's going to be this obsession with wanting to face Tommaso Ciampa again. And speaking of which, Tommaso Ciampa retweeted a photo with Johnny standing over Black with the caption, "Sometimes you just need DIY," with a tear in my eye, hashtag Big Daddy Ciampa is proud. Easily one of the tweets of the week.
The latest industry news and rumors.
We start off with the status of Crown Jewel. So to catch you up, because it's really been so back and forth, it started with a tweet from Robbie Fox, courtesy of Barstool Sports, quite a reliable source. He tweeted, "I was just told Reigns is currently injured," which of course we found out battling leukemia again, and that Cena and Bryan are refusing to work the show. Many on the current WWE roster have expressed concern with going as well, but obviously not all of them have the power like Cena and Bryan. Now, their decision to not participate would be directly connected to the controversy in Saudi Arabia, where a U.S. journalist was murdered. And this is almost like a conspiracy. Was it covered up? Did they know? How did this happen? Still, details are being uncovered. The WWE is currently in the process of frantically scouting locations to move Crown Jewel to. He later tweeted, "This is not definitive confirmation that it's out of Saudi Arabia, but the location and date are unquestionably in major jeopardy right now. There are even some rumors that it might take place in New Jersey, or I guess Albany specifically, which I thought was bizarre and completely unfounded. And then as of the latest update, the WWE released a corporate statement on their website stating the event will take place in Saudi Arabia as originally planned. Now, again, this has come under fire by many critics and journalists and fans. And yes, rightfully so. If you listen to the previous episode of The Signature Spot, I mentioned why it's not a good idea, but also why they are moving forward with it. So in my humble opinion, that have not received official word from government officials to say you are not allowed to do this show, so that's why they're going. And they also don't want to jeopardize the relationship with the family over there, who's going to be paying them upwards of $20 to $50 million per show. So that's why it's taking place. Now, again, I believe I stated this before, but I will say it again. I do believe wrestlers should have the right to refuse to go. So if John Cena says, I don't feel safe, not worth my time, I don't agree with the fact it's taking place, you know what? If John Cena is saying that, who is viewed as the locker room leader, perhaps others will follow suit too. Now, someone who may be at Crown Jewel is Hulk Hogan. In chatting with the Orlando Sentinel, Hulk Hogan suggested that he is attending Crown Jewel. Here's what he had to say. There are a lot of plans in the works. I'm looking forward to going to Saudi Arabia with the WWE, looking forward to WrestleMania. But yeah, we're moving forward at a rapid pace. It's exciting to have this opportunity again after all these years where I was there and gone. My question to you, do you want to see Hulk Hogan in Saudi Arabia at Crown Jewel? Or even furthermore, at WrestleMania? A new match was added to WWE Evolution. We'll have a full preview a little bit later on. It's a 6-woman tag match. Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Natalya, all former champions, taking on the Riot Squad. A Halloween special. That's right. Matt Hardy's House Hardy Halloween special will premiere on the WWE Network on Sunday right after WWE Evolution. Last Friday, Daniel Cormier noted during his scrum in Las Vegas that he's going to Orlando after UFC 230 to do a tryout for a WWE commentary position. Now, Daniel Cormier is a UFC fighter. He's a 2-division champion and arguably the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world today. He also happens to be a great broadcaster, not to mention a massive pro wrestling fan, so he seems like a natural fit. Up next, I'm joined by writer and massive pro wrestling fan Kyle Scharf to discuss WWE Evolution, taking place this coming Sunday.
Our topic of the week.
WWE Evolution takes place this coming Sunday, October the 28th, from the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. 8 matches announced. Women from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK will take part in WWE's first ever all-women's event. Let's kick it off with the very first one. Again, I'm not predicting the order. I just believe that some of this makes sense. It will be the historic Women's Battle Royal. The winner receives a future Women's Championship opportunity. Now, I'm going to run down very quickly who's involved. Representing Raw, you have Tamina, Ember Moon, Alicia Fox, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Maria returning as well. You have SmackDown, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, Asuka, Mandy Rose, Carmella, Sonya Deville, Lana, Naomi, and Zelina Vega, and then some of the legends, Tori Wilson, Michelle McCool, Alundra Blaze, which was a bit of a shocker, Ivory, Kelly Kelly, and Molly Holly. Who in your mind takes this match, Kyle?
I gotta go with Asuka, like, with how everything's been for her since WrestleMania. If they're going to reestablish her, she needs a big win like this. Mm-hmm. If I was to go with any of the legends, which I know none of them are going to win, I would totally go with Molly Holly because she's awesome. But Asuka really needs to, if they want to get her back to that dominant force that she was in NXT, she's got to take it.
My top picks would be Asuka for the same rationale. I really believe she needs it. But if you want to build the future, and somebody who I believe that in small bursts when she's had her moment to shine has been fantastic, I'm a big fan of, and it's wishful thinking, but Ember Moon is my second pick.
I do love Ember, too. She's a great pick.
6-woman tag match. You have Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Natalya taking on the Riot Squad. The WWE is really positioning this as 3 former champions who blazed a trail in the women's division going up against a new threat in the Riot Squad. I don't know about you, Kyle, but to me, the outcome seems like a no-brainer.
This one is weird to me. Bayley and Sasha in their matches in NXT were one of the biggest reasons for the women's revolution that we're having now.
Undoubtedly.
And it feels like they're being relegated to a throwaway match, but I guess they're getting more than the Battle Royal. So it's going to be, I'm calling Sasha taking the win. As much as I would love to see Ruby Riott actually get the W.
Sure.
To establish her more, but it's going to probably go to Sasha or Bayley.
Wrestling 101 has told us that if the heels reign supreme on the television show prior to the event, that means the baby faces will typically come out on top. So I'm sure that's what we're going to see. My prediction as well, Bayley, Sasha, and Natalya. For the NXT UK Women's Championship, you have Rhea Ripley, the champion, taking on Jenny. So not a lot of people really knew about this match taking place. I know it kind of caught you by surprise, and it was really during the first set of tapings that Rhea was crowned the NXT UK Women's Champion after defeating Toni Storm. So with that victory, she actually became the first Australian to hold a WWE Championship, and for the record, Buddy Murphy became the second at Super Showdown. Now, Jenny is perhaps best well known for her run in Revolution Pro Wrestling. That's where I saw her, where she became the inaugural Rev Pro Women's Champion, and then she signed with the WWE in 2017. She lost to Toni Storm in the recent 2018 Mae Young Classic, and now she has the opportunity to redeem herself. Now, does Rhea retain, or does Jenny redeem herself?
I'm going with Rhea on this one. I haven't caught as much of this year's Mae Young Classic as I would have liked to at this point, but Rhea Ripley is definitely one of the most improved from last year's showing to this year.
Great
personality. Sorry?
Great gimmick as well, too. Like, she does have that personality and something that just draws your attention.
Absolutely. And you know me, I'm the horror punk guy. I'm obviously going to like the people that are leaning more towards the metal punk style gimmick.
Counterculture.
Exactly. So, that definitely has a showing for me. So I'm going to give the win to Rhea, but we're going to see a strong showing from Jenny.
Agree 100%. I have Ripley retaining, and for the same rationale, I believe Jenny's going to look like a superstar. Tag team match. Trish Stratus and Lita, Team Bestie, I believe, or Besties versus Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. So originally it was supposed to be a singles match between Trish and Alexa, and then also Lita versus Mickie. But several weeks ago, the WWE decided to make it a tag match. Now, according to Alexa, in a recent podcast appearance, I believe it was with Lillian Garcia, she speculated that this decision was made because it was going to create a special feel for the match. Do you believe it's more special as a tag match, or if it was two singles matches?
I feel like the tag match is definitely the better call. I actually read some things that said that it was originally planned from the get-go as a tag match, but they announced the singles matches until they could fill out the card a little more.
Gotcha.
So I don't know what's going to happen with this one because of the talk of Alexa this weekend suffering a concussion at the house show. The way they, kind of did it on Raw, I think we might even see Alexa being replaced by Alicia Fox, as Noam Dar would say. If Alexa can go, I'm giving it to Alexa and Mickie, because you got to establish the future. And Alexa is the only one really that's future based here.
Yes.
If it's Alicia and Mickie, which I have a feeling it might end up being, then I'm giving it to Trish and Lita after Stratisfaction and a moonsault where Lita might almost break her own neck again.
Yeah, Michelle, my wife, always says anytime Lita's about to attempt that moonsault, she cringes. And not because Lita's not a reputable and great performer. It's just that moonsault just seems very snug when she hits the mat with that neck and the known problem she's had.
The one at the Royal Rumble this year was iffy at best.
Well, my prediction is Trish and Lita will get their arms raised. For the 2018 Mae Young Classic Tournament final match, you have Io Shirai versus Toni Storm. Now, Io was signed to the WWE in 2017. She had a neck injury that prevented the deal from fully transpiring. Now, fortunately, she was signed a year later after recovering. Now, to Toni Storm, 23 years old, has that undeniable it factor, at least in my eyes. And many believe that Toni Storm is the future of the women's division, at least in NXT once she makes it there. So you would be hard-pressed to receive any argument from me on that claim. She's got it all. And both of these women are two of the best in the world, challenging to become the winner of the Mae Young Classic 2018. Who takes it? Is it Storm or is it Io?
Well, full disclosure, I've been in love with Toni Storm since last year's Mae Young Classic. I feel like she is established enough now that she doesn't need it as much as Io Shirai does to the new audience. I think with the new NXT UK brand as well, Tony might stick around there a little bit to help establish that because she has some recognition. So I'm going to go with Io Shirai and then her moving into the NXT women's title picture.
Very lovely woman, by the way. I did meet her down at the Performance Center at NXT last week. She was the second one in the photo with myself and Zane. But I'm believing that it's going to be Toni Storm finally winning the big one after coming up short on repeated attempts. Moving along, singles match for the NXT Women's Championship. You do have Kairi Sane taking on Shayna Baszler. Now, this feud started in the finals at the inaugural Mae Young Classic, and basically what happened was Sane has overcome the odds to win since then. The Pirate Princess continues to get the upper hand. Can she do it again against Shayna Baszler?
I think this one really depends on what their plans for Shayna are. Because I feel like they might want to move Shayna over to Raw and kind of start establishing the four horsewomen with Ronda. If that was the case, obviously Kairi's going to keep the strap, and then we can get some new feuds, some fresh blood in there. You know, get Nikki Cross before she gets called up, Bianca Belair, who's been impressive as hell lately.
Yes.
And then, of course, Io Shirai as well. If Shayna is sticking around NXT, she's going to take the title, and it's going to be in dominant fashion.
So I have Kairi Sane retaining for the pure fact that I do believe Shayna is going to be called up to the main roster with Survivor Series around the corner, team four horsewomen versus team whoever you want to throw at them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my gut says Shayna, but I'm going with my heart and going with the Pirate Princess.
There you go. And speaking of one of the four horsewomen to another, perhaps the leader for the WWE Raw Women's Championship, it is Rowdy Ronda Rousey defending her crown against the returning Nikki Bella. Now, this feud, in my opinion, has brought out the best in Ronda Rousey. She's been fierce, confident, and very entertaining on the microphone as of late, something that she was lacking. The jabs at Nikki Bella over furthering her career by leveraging John Cena were simply great. I have a quote: "The only door you ever knocked down was the door to John Cena's bedroom, and he eventually threw you out of that exact same door." That one cuts close to the chest.
It stings. I was a big fan of that. That was the first time I honestly felt like Ronda was comfortable on the mic in the ring.
And she wrote those promos, though, too. That's why, and that's something that I have repeatedly stated on this podcast, is that if you allow performers to sink or swim, that's the only way you know if they have that in them.
If they didn't do that back in the day, we probably never would have gotten Stone Cold, The Rock, some of Chris Jericho's best work.
How about Brett's best work in 1997?
Oh, the Hart Foundation run, I know we've discussed thoroughly. It's one of the greatest runs of all time, in my opinion.
Shawn Michaels as well. I mean, he had some great promos just off the cuff and going out there with a few points in his head and saying, I'm just going to lay it out there.
Yeah, if you got to let them sink or swim, like you said. As for the match, I think this one should actually go down exactly the way that the Ronda-Alexa match at SummerSlam played out, except with Ronda being even more vicious. She should just tear her apart completely. That said, WWE is really insistent on making us think the Bellas are, you know, the real leaders of the revolution, all that. Nikki has improved a ton in the ring. She's gotten leaps and bounds above what anyone probably ever expected. So I would
dare say actually underappreciated in some respects.
In some, absolutely. I'm going with Ronda, keeping the strap despite interference from Brie. Fantasy booking, 100%. I would love to see, the whole Raw roster come out and try and help Nikki win because they know they can beat Nikki, but they can't beat Ronda. And then Shayna comes out and just they tear it apart. But that's a pipe dream.
Sure. I was thinking though too. What's funny is you see the Bellas versus Ronda. I almost think that's unfair on the side of the Bellas, and they almost need a third member to equal the odds, so to speak. But I believe the Ronda will retain. It just seems like the logical choice.
Who was when they started the Revolution? They had all those three
Alicia.
Alicia Fox. Oh God, that's ridiculous.
Who was 9 foot tall, by the way. On Raw, she entered the scene, and I thought to myself, she is like the true glamazon. She's like 9 foot tall, with or without heels. She towers over everybody else on the Raw roster.
She's the female El Gigante.
So I'm putting this next match in the main event, whether that appears to be a reality. I believe that it should be the reality. It is the last woman standing SmackDown Women's Championship match. I know you agree. It is the champion Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. We've seen it so many times, and yet it is still so relevant. The WWE announced on their social media accounts that there was also a physical altercation between both Becky Lynch and Charlotte, and tensions just continue to rise. It's arguably the best feud in the WWE at the moment. Would you agree with that?
By far. There's nothing else that's getting the heat and has people invested as much as this one.
And Becky is slowly but surely gaining a little bit of heat, but at the same time, she has that cool heat going on. Like even when she's tearing down Edge, saying, get out of the ring, but don't hurt your neck. And people are cheering that. And Edge is beloved in the WWE universe. You know that person is ultra over at the moment.
But tell me you wouldn't hear those exact words come out of Stone Cold Steve Austin's mouth in 1997.
You would. All he would add to that is, you piece of trash, when you get out of the ring and you nearly break your neck, right?
And he'd flip him off.
Of course he would. And I've always compared Becky Lynch to being like that female Stone Cold character, where it's the DTA aspect, don't trust anyone. She walks that proverbial, fine line between babyface and heel, so it's that gray area, but I love it. It's one of those don't change the things scenarios right now with her.
Oh, it's been perfect. I want to see her run with it, to superstardom. I remember there was talk that at one point, Bayley was going to be the female John Cena, and she was going to be the biggest out of all of them. And now it seems like Becky could, if they let her run with this, surpass all the other horsewomen and everything. That said, with the rumors of that WWE wants that Charlotte Ronda match at Mania.
It's the wrong one. It should be Becky versus Ronda. It's built in because they both have the same attitude. They even both have a similar finisher. It just ties in so nicely.
WWE doesn't always make sense, unfortunately. I feel like they're going to want to reestablish Charlotte, but the only way they're going to be able to do that, especially keeping Ronda a face throughout her run, is let's do the WrestleMania 13 Bret Austin double turn. Charlotte's got to take the title, but through some sort of nefarious means or going way too far. And not like the cartoony way too far, like John Cena, Wade Barrett, dropping 100 chairs on the guy, something severe. That's the only way I could see Charlotte taking it, as much as I want to see Becky keep the title for 3-4 years, because she's just incredible. And the run she's having right now is, like you said, we haven't seen a run by any superstar, male or female, getting this kind of traction and still being good 3-4 weeks on.
Perhaps since Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, I'm like, WWE 2K19, the showcase mode going through his career, and that you get all these reminders of everything that was happening then. And of course, the game doesn't include, how bad they tried to really hold him back. And, I don't think they're going to acknowledge that CM Punk leaving had a big effect on how everything played out. But you're right. No, probably not since Daniel Bryan has anyone had this kind of following on the main roster.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, AJ is very comparable too. I've always stated that, and he should be considered right there too. So with that, are you saying that Charlotte Flair wins this match, or does Becky Lynch retain?
I'm giving it to Charlotte as much as I don't want to. My heart wants Becky, but my brain and gut says Charlotte.
Gotcha. And that would actually make, for the record, Charlotte Flair an 8-time women's champion. Now, I'm going with Becky Lynch to retain. I think, logically speaking, Charlotte's going to win, but maybe it's wishful thinking. Maybe it's me being hopeful. Becky Lynch retains, extends this, perhaps loses the title in the new year, where Charlotte establishes herself as really that dominant SmackDown women's champion going up against Ronda.
Makes sense. Like I said, I'd much rather see Becky in that spot, but the name value of a Flair versus Becky Lynch, the way, the general public and WWE corporate looks at it, they're going to go with Charlotte and Ronda as much as I'd love to see Ronda and Becky one day.
Yeah.
That would be quite a showing, I think, especially as Ronda continually improves in ring.
Well, there's one place that you can do that, and that is in WWE 2K19. I'm just kidding. I'm not getting paid for that plug, so I'm not even going to give it. It is a good game, though. So, Kyle, thank you for joining me. WWE Evolution, a pretty solid card from top to bottom. I'm very interested to see how it plays out.
I'm hoping it's a success, just for all the ladies on there. They deserve their own showing, and I'm looking forward to the show.
You're listening to The Signature Spot with Chris Toplack.
Thank you very much to my guest, Kyle Scharf, for joining me on another episode of The Signature Spot. He's become somewhat of a regular. I've had some listeners inquire about him. You can follow him on Twitter at Mr_Gore. Next week, I will be previewing WWE Crown Jewel if or when it takes place in Saudi Arabia. Plus, perhaps I'm going to chat with someone who could be on the Chris Jericho cruise. That'd be interesting. Now, until next week, happy trails to you. Until we meet again.
This concludes another episode of The Signature Spot with Chris Toplack. For new episodes, subscribe on YouTube, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, or iTunes. And don't forget to follow The Signature Spot on Facebook for exclusive clips, polls, and opinions.